Hey there, just Eric here. This is actually post-episode. We actually recorded it last night, and it went a little long. Long enough that we thought we could break it up into two parts. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to post this about early Friday morning, probably around, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm going to post the second half of the video about 7 o'clock at night, just so you have kind of a chance to split up your day. If you're listening to this on audio, you're going to just get the episodes back to back. I'm not going to post it later because you might need to kill a commute. But yeah, that's all I wanted to come in and say. If you're just looking for just our thoughts on how the teams have gone through the 40 game mark, that's going to be in episode 2. This first part, we're just going to be talking about a lot of the news and notes, and I go on a lot about the Twins, who are actually good for the last 11 games. They won today. It's 11 games. That's exciting, but we'll talk about that more. I'll shut up now so you can listen to the normal episode. So thank you, guys. Hello and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. We're full staff today because with me today is...
I'm Lee.
I'm Sam.
I'm Oren.
And I'm Dan.
Just a casual pause there at the end. I like it. And this is a competitive division, everyone. Everyone is playing well. Even the White Sox are near 500, which for them is basically unbeatable baseball. It's pretty good. Twins are on a 10-game win streak. They're doing it to me again. They did the same thing last year, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I feel like there's a better way to get to 500, but I'll take it. I can't complain either way. So
It's dumb. They should stop winning. That's my suggestion.
yeah, says the Tigers, who just refuse to stop losing, and now freaking Javi Baez has found the fountain of youth. I think we can all agree the Tigers are the worst.
This is false.
Twins still.
Okay, well, hush down now. I've had a little bit of joy for the first time about the Twins since August 15th. I'm going to take this winning streak while I can. But anyway, just in the news, just to get us started, Lee, talk about your stupid team and why we should care.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of bad news. So Casey Mize, left hamstring, is going to be out for a little bit. He's on the 15-day IL. So from what it sounds like, they're optimistic that it's super mild. I think they're just being really cautious with it because it's May. Don't want to stress anything this early in the season. And also last season, he missed 2 months with a left hamstring issue. So just being cautious with it. Brought up Keter Montero to fill in that gap and also doing a little bit of pitching chaos yesterday, which was fun. Didn't really work out maybe as we'd like, but pitching chaos is fun. They also demoted Jace Young today, brought up Akil Baddoo, which is a little bit of a strange move to me, but okay. So Young hasn't really been hitting like at all, but he's got really good third base defense. And Akil Baddoo, he hasn't been very consistent bat at the major league level, but he's really good outfield defense. So I'm guessing the idea is when Vierling comes back, they're gonna either have him play third or just move Baddoo back down. I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me.
Who's he taking at bat? Or was it just like there needs to be a warm body on the bench and we don't care if Baddoo gets a lot of playing time?
Yeah, I think it's more like that. Also, we're facing a lot of right-handed pitchers, and Baddoo is a better bat than Young.
Do you think at the Mother's Day game against his brother, do you think they waited until after that on purpose to send him down?
I mean, that would be nice. I don't know if that was necessarily like on purpose, like intentional, because I mean, it's been a few days since then. If they had sent him down the day after, I'd be like, okay, they just kept him up for that. But
I think if they had done it like the day before, that legitimately would have been bad PR, right?
Yeah, that would not have been good PR.
Well, the mom had the split jersey bought already, so like they had to. You don't want that.
I saw that.
Yeah. He had some really good moments yesterday because he got on base for both of Javi Baez's home runs. But I mean, yeah, he's just been really struggling at the plate, and he needs more time to adjust and work on things in AAA, it seems. But I'm optimistic he'll be back up at some point. But I mean, we're also a competitive team, so who knows?
some people say that all PR is good PR. I would say that exact situation probably disproves that.
Right. We wouldn't have gotten that adorable tic-tac-toe game on the third baseline.
Yeah.
Where would the season be without that? Could you talk, like, who is Kiter Montero? Like, Mize has had a really nice season. He has a 392 FIP. He's 2.53 ERA. That kind of hurt. Is Montero going to be able to replace him all right, or what? Does he get any hype?
So Montero, I think he's good. He's got, let me pull up his page if I can find it. Here we go. So so far this season, he's come up for us a few times for like double headers and stuff. He's been a little bit hit or miss, but like last season, he was our only other starter towards the second half of that season, and that was very valuable for us. I think he's good. He's just young. He's 24. He needs a little bit more time to like figure some stuff out, but he's been tearing it up in AAA lately. And last season, like I know, okay, it was the Rockies, but he threw a complete game shutout last season. And like this season against the Rockies, he got another eight innings like the Rockies, but like he's got really good potential. So I mean, he's not a replacement for Mize, but he's a good number 6 starter. He would be in the rotation on a lot of other teams. We just have a lot more pitching depth than a lot of other teams.
Sure.
Was the shutout in Coors?
It was in Comerica.
Oh.
Not as impressive.
Not as impressive, but he faced the minimum, which is really cool. Because he allowed 3 base runners, but they were all ground into double plays. It was in 97 pitches too, so it was pretty cool. Oh god damn it! And Tigers are blowing the lead.
Good.
What happened?
Just a bunch of singles here in the 7th. It's now tied 5-5. Scuba was pulled out, and then Holton came in, gave up 2 singles to score a couple runs.
I guess you could say that there are singles in the area.
You could say that.
You could. I was gonna make it was a diva that hit the base hit with Rafael Devers, but now he's going to be expected to run the bases. So hopefully
I've been kind of half following the whole Rafael Devers thing. I think I get the gist of it, but that's kind of
it's weak.
Not what you want happening to your team.
No, not for your $300 million franchise player. It just seems ridiculous to me, which, whatever. I'm sure he has in his mind, and people agree why he's angry. They bought it. They brought in a better defensive third baseman who's also out hitting him this year.
But didn't they also tell him, like, oh, no, he's not going to play third. He'll play, like, second or something. You'll be third. Like, they didn't, like, handle it well themselves either.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. The Red Sox absolutely kind of botched how they handled it, but, like, I feel like he's playing victim at this point, especially with the first base thing, but that's just me.
What is the first base thing now? Sorry, this is
Tristan Casas. Tristan Casas went on a season-ending injury, and then the conversation came up, well, will Devers play first? And he said publicly, no, I will not. They told me to put my glove away. I'm not going to play first.
Wait, I didn't realize Casas' injury was season-ending.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have, like, no backup.
Comment. He made some comment about, like, next week one of our outfielders is going to get hurt, and they're going to ask me to go play the outfield now or something like that. Like, yeah.
Smallest violin for you, buddy. Like,
calm down a little bit. Like, they didn't handle this well, but you're being a little dramatic here.
Also, you should want to play first base. Playing first base is so fun. You, like, don't really have to do that much.
I mean, you're in every play, and like he comes across me, you know, like that person at work who like always complains, and then you give them, they get a legitimate reason to complain, and they milk it for like the next 6 weeks. That just, it screams Rafael Devers to me right now.
It's a good analogy.
It's that person at work who complains about actually having to do their job.
Yeah.
Right. It's that person at work who's so lazy and never does anything. And then the moment they're called upon to actually do their job, they're just like, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
Hey, he's hitting really well right now, though, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
So that just kind of complicates things even further. It's just going to give him a longer leash.
Right.
And the contract already gives him a long one.
You can't justify benching him because he's doing really well as DH.
Right.
But
Well,
I
like
don't know.
what will
I
be
get that some players are kind of like extreme example, but LeBron James, who clearly runs every franchise he's on. It's always weird when there's a baseball player that like publicly it's unveiled that they kind of have more soft power than their manager. Doesn't happen often in baseball, you know?
right. Well, it's weird because it sounds like Cora. I think Cora had. I'm going off of like fair territory with Ken Rosenthal. Like I think Cora has more like weight in Boston than a typical manager because it sounds like Cora didn't want to play him in the third at all. Breslow's new to being a GM. Is it Breslow? Is it Craig Breslow?
Yeah.
Whoever it is, whoever the GM is, and they never communicated with Devers. They brought in Bregman. Which, by the way, how funny will it be if Bregman has a monster year and then opts out of that contract and then they ask Devers to go play third again? Like
That's exactly what's going to happen.
I hope so. I
This-
want the
this-
soap opera to continue.
yeah, it's been so drama fueled.
Anyway, that's
And Breslow went down there to. They were out of town. He actually went to go meet with Devers. Like,
and the owner.
oh, did the owner go too?
The owner went with
Yeah.
him too. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
It's really funny seeing that happen at the same time. Javi Baez, Gold Glove shortstop, is like, oh, you need me to play center? No problem.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just the comparison. Like, sorry, we just walked Bregman. Anyway.
But
But-
Devers, the difference is Devers was bad at third to begin with. Baez was great at short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Devers is awful defensively at third.
Right.
Like, I don't know how good he would be at first, but like, he's hitting better than whoever they have at first now.
No, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall of that meeting with the owner and the GM though when they flew into what was it, Kansas City?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
give it 2 weeks and Devers will just tell you. He's been saying these in press conferences. Like,
Yeah, I've heard that like some of his teammates are like, dude, just shut up.
right.
Stop talking.
Except for he even said like, "Oh, I have a great relationship with my teammates," and apparently, I can only imagine the eye rolls. Like, I'm so happy that's happening in the East and not the Central. So anyway, back to the Central. That was kind of a tangent. The Royals signed Dick Mountain, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Who is
So
he?
the Royals brought in Rich Hill on a minor league contract. Rich Hill
Love it.
is a young 45 years old. He has played for 14 different teams in MLB. 13 different teams in MLB. If he makes an appearance for the Royals, he will tie Edwin Jackson as playing for the most different teams in MLB history. And he is a Michigan man, and he was at the University of Michigan at the same time as, check notes, Tom Brady.
Nice.
So it's safe to say that he's been around the block a couple times. He still wants to compete. He still wants to go out there and play ball. And minor league deal, see what he could do. No harm, no foul. So if we see Rich Hill at some point this year with the Royals, it probably means one of two things. Either one, he looks good in the minors, or two, something has gone very wrong with the Royals. So we will we'll monitor that situation. But yeah, nice little story there. More of a meme than it is an actual thing that I think is going to be impactful for the Royals this year. But hey, let the
Is this a depth signing because of Bubic and Reagans? Is that or is
maybe.
he thinking bullpen?
I honestly I have no idea. I think it's just here's a guy who says he wants to do it, and so let's see what happens. I think the Royals have plenty of depth as far as pitching is concerned, but I mean, who knows?
Right.
But ain't no rule saying a 45-year-old man can't play baseball. So
Nope. How old
I
is he for
remember-
being the oldest? Was it Jose
it-
Offerman?
was it
He-
Jamie
was-
Moyer maybe?
Oh, maybe that's it.
Oh wait, oldest
Was-
pitcher.
Oldest player.
Well, Julio
Satchel
Franco.
Paige.
Which,
Well,
Julio
oldest
Franco,
player would be
That's what I was
Satchel Paige.
Satchel Paige.
Oh
and then
yeah,
Julio
because he had that.
Franco.
Yeah, you're right for Satchel, but
In our
I think-
lifetime,
we're not-
Julio Franco played until he was 47, and he retired in like what 2007.
yeah, that's who I was thinking of, Oren.
Yeah.
You're right. I was thinking of the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why I remember this, but for some reason I remember this. So Torque actually got his first major league hit off of Rich Hill, and like that was 3 years ago, and even then it was Rich Hill is so old. Like
Yep.
Torque was 5 years old when Rich Hill made his major league debut, and now he's getting his first MLB hit off it. And then like Rich Hill was like old then, and he's
I mean, he was throwing 85 for the Twins in 2020. I can only imagine what that fastball is doing now. That curveball still plays. That's I'm assuming it probably doesn't still play. He's on a minor league deal, but that's going to be fun if he goes up seeing that 83-mile-an-hour heater.
oh
Also,
yeah.
shout out to Edwin Jackson, big friend of the AL Central, and
Yeah, he is.
we haven't seen him in a few years, but a lot of good memories. Nice career.
Yeah, really. Yeah, kept getting signed. He was. I don't know. Anyway,
So it looks like Jamie Moyer is the oldest player to play this century,
okay. How old was he?
and he was 49
Oh wow.
Yeesh.
when he last played an MLB game. So yeah, and then Satchel Paige is the oldest. So
What do you guys think is more impressive, pitching at 49 or hitting at 47? I don't know if that's actually when he retired. It might have been like 45.
Pitching or hitting?
Pitching.
100%.
I think
I
pitching.
think I think Julio Franco is more impressive.
Because like pitching, if you like pitching can be an art. You can finesse your way out of pitching if you hit the corners. Like you have no room for error. Anything over the plate, you're screwed. But you're still at 47. You're still facing prime pitchers.
well, I can tell you that Julio Franco was 49.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so both Moyer and Franco were 49.
Well, actually,
Um,
Franco was
Playing in the
in his
21st
age
century.
48 season, so because they like have the cutoff in June, but he might have been 49.
oh,
The last time
he was 49 in 25 days, according to Wikipedia.
his last good season was probably 1.1 WAR for Atlanta as a bench player in at age 45. After that, he did manage to hang around, but he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Dan, did you think pitching was more? I feel like did you disagree there?
Yeah, I think it's simple. Pitching is so hard on your body, particularly your arm. But that was where I was coming from in an
that's
advanced
what I
age
think.
to be able to do 5 days or out of the bullpen is to me more. I get where you're coming from as far as reaction times and what have you, but to me it's just how physical pitching can be.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
just
think I
missed
agree.
it. Lee, watch the Tigers game. You're going to be so mad.
Oh no.
I
what
agree with you, Oren.
So I just need to describe this play. We're going to have to post this somewhere. So like Detroit got robbed of a home run to right field, but the right fielder didn't catch it, and he knocked it away from the wall and then right into the center fielder's glove.
Oh come on! I just
I
saw
love those. I
Oh.
love those. That's like my favorite play.
Boo! Oh, I hate the Red
Oh,
Sox.
that is so fun. It was a legit it cleared like by a
Oh.
foot. It was a home run, and then you just see Rafaela with like, "Hey guys, look what I have." God, that's a fun play. Everyone look that up right this moment. If you're listening to this in the car, you're pulling over right now and watching that because God dang it, was that
I
fun.
hate the Red Sox. No, that's bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry.
But
whoever-
anyway, to move on to my second piece of news, stadium-related news. The Missouri House passed a stadium bill that will basically just allocate money to give to the Royals and/or Chiefs to build new stadiums or to renovate their current stadiums and to keep them in the state of Missouri. This was something that was kind of expected to happen at some point. And then John Sherman was asked about this, the Royals owner, and he commented that a decision is going to be made sometime in June or July. So they
Okay.
promised that they would have a decision made by the middle of the year. So hopefully that we'll see what happens with the stadium biz. I hope this doesn't turn into a long saga.
Well,
And hopefully we
if
will
there's
have.
anything I know about stadium and local government negotiations, it's every promise is always kept. So I'm sure we will know
Yeah.
by June or July exactly what's going to happen.
Yes. Well, I think that's a fair point. I think that this is going to be something that's going to be, this is not going to be done anytime soon. And I think that when it comes to a new stadium, I don't know how much for a long time, I was fighting the good fight of keep Kauffman Stadium. And I think I've realized that that's not going to happen. Um, they're going to move somewhere in the Kansas City area. If they do, I think at this point it's either going to be up into Clay County on the north side of the Missouri River, which has, the KC Current Stadium, which is the women's soccer team, is on that side
Mm.
of the river as well. So that would be, just an additional piece of development that's going on that side of the county line. Or they're going to move to the Kansas side to Wyandotte County and build a stadium in the area of the Kansas Speedway. I think those are the two most likely outcomes, and I really don't think they've been talking about a downtown ballpark for a long time. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think there's anywhere to put it in
Now,
downtown Kansas
would
City.
moving to the Kansas City side be controversial? How do Missourians and Kansasians feel about that? Is there like a
You know,
rivalry?
there is a bit of a rivalry. People from Kansas City, Missouri, and people from Kansas City, Kansas, consider themselves to be Kansas Cityans first, for the most part. And I think that and really it is two separate cities. Um, it's not like, Texarkana or something like that, where it is one city that just is on the border. Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas operate as two separate cities for the most part. Um, and I think that for me, it would be it would be a little bit of it would be a little bit sad to see one of them go across the state line. But as a someone who pays taxes in Missouri, I wouldn't mind seeing the Kansas residents have to foot the bill for once. You know, I would not mind
For
having to
once,
see
there's no bitterness
for
behind
one
that.
for once the Kansas residents get to foot the bill for the Royals or the Chiefs, because we're the ones who have been the paying the bill for those two teams. So I think from that perspective, it wouldn't be terrible, but you know,
Okay,
Johnson
wait.
County, Kansas.
So if you were drafted into like World War II, who would you rather have in the foxhole with you? You and 4 people from Kansas City, Kansas, or you and 4 people from non-Kansas City, Missouri?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I'd have to go with Kansas City, Missouri, because my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and he's from Missouri. So they took out his battalion, I think, took out a German pillbox on D-Day.
Oh, oh, that's
So I
awesome.
think I would.
Let's
I think
go.
I would. I think I would go with those boys from Missouri. So anyway, that's my Royals news and World War II update for you guys there.
No,
Like update.
we've been waiting on a World War II update for about 80 years, so I'm glad we got one.
Mhm. Yeah,
Time
this
to
just
wrap
in.
that up.
Cleveland had a couple minor moves. Are they minor? Dan, you tell me.
Somewhat minor. There's some implications here. So first and foremost, on Monday, starting shortstop, at least to start the season, Brian Rocchio was demoted to the minors to AAA. Rocchio has not hit well so far. We may talk about that here in a few minutes, but he was demoted, and Will Brennan, outfielder, was promoted to the majors. In and of itself, there's some, it's understandable why this move was made as far as Rocchio goes. He just hasn't been producing. Additionally, Gabriel Arias and Daniel Schneemann have, and they're going to share the middle infield duties, it seems, for the time being. And then as far as Brennan goes, that's where it gets kind of strange, just because the Guardians have an abundance of outfielders that maybe they aren't entirely thrilled with. We talked about outfielders last week, but they do have an abundance of outfielders. And they've essentially got three guys vying for the right field job right now, with Brennan up here to go with Nolan Jones and John Kenzie Noel. But with that in mind, Lane Thomas will also soon be back up in the majors. He started his rehab assignment this week, and now you have yet another outfielder that will need to find playing time for. My thought is that what will probably end up happening is one of Jones or Noel will be demoted. I'm under the impression Jones doesn't have any options left, so that could be a potential waiver situation. I don't know if he'd get claimed or not, but in that case, one of those two would have to go down. I would assume it would be Jones because Brennan is a left-handed hitter, and so is Jones. And if you want to platoon right field, why would you have both of them? But that move is to come here in the coming days. For the moment, they are just operating with the extra outfielder.
Noel wouldn't be a consideration.
His numbers haven't been very good either. So just based off, if you were picking like who is the player that probably has produced the least and therefore you want to send him down, it would probably be Noel. But I don't know that it makes sense to keep both Jones and Brennan on the team at the same time. So hence the dilemma. We'll see how it plays out. And then lastly, also on Monday, Ben Lively, Guardians starting pitcher that day, exited the game after his warm-up tosses in the fourth inning. And there was some immediate alarm because the original prognosis was right forearm inflammation, which can be, doesn't have to be, but can be a precursor to elbow issues. In this case, he has a right flexor strain, which seems to be a lot less troublesome. He is on the 15-day IL, and Zach Kent was promoted. He is a reliever that has been up and down throughout the course of the early part of the season. And then I presume Kent was brought up just to be an extra bullpen arm in the meantime before they need to find a starter this weekend. Among the choices that could be that fifth starter for now are Doug Nikhazy, who was the extra starter for a doubleheader earlier this year. Had a lot of command issues, but he's somebody that they think highly of, as well as Slade Ciccone, who is one of the players they got in the Josh Naylor trade. Has been injured to this point in the season. He's actually rehabbing in AAA right now and is stretched up to about 70 pitches. He could make the start if needed. And then Kobe Allard is the other potential option. He was promoted earlier this year. He's been working in a long relief role out of the pen. Has been really good so far. I'd actually kind of be curious to see what he looks like as a starter, but I know that they find all kinds of different roles valuable in the bullpen, and he's done very well so far in his current role. So I think Ciccone is probably the answer here. But again, that decision will be made more towards the weekend when they actually need to utilize a fifth starter.
Does anyone here watch It's Always Sunny?
Yes.
Of course.
When Dan said that there are some implications here, all I could think about was Dennis Reynolds.
It's true. If you're going to negotiate with a free agent, you always want to take them out onto a boat.
Yeah, because of the implication.
They think, who am I going to sign with? I don't know, this guy.
Are you saying you're going to take advantage of these free agents, Oren?
You're not, let's move past it.
I like this is going to be taken out of context sometime. Like 10 years from now, the algorithm will take this, and suddenly we don't want to understand why. Moving on to the Twins, the hottest team in baseball for good reasons. I guess I don't know what the bad reasons would be, but they, after the second year of an abysmal start, they go on a hot streak for a second straight year. So last year, and I'm reading a skeet, we've learned that they're called. I'm reading a skeet from Aaron Gleeman. Last year, the Twins started 7-15, and they started 7-13, and then went 16-2, including a 12-game winning streak last year. This year, they started 7-15, so 2 games worse, and now they've gone 15-5 since then, with now a 10-game win streak. Even going back into the collapse, you can like really structure this team into separate parts. They have been really cold, that awful start to start 2024. Then they were like legitimately had the best record in baseball up until August 15th. And then they had basically one of the worst record, like top bottom 3 records in baseball from August 15th last year until the 7-15 start this year. And now they have one of the best records in baseball since then. All of that comes out to a team slightly above 500, but at no point have they ever been a 500 team in performance. They've either been 40 win area team or 105 win area team. If you ever wonder, if you know a Minnesota Twins fan, maybe give them a hug, because they've gone through a lot in the last couple of months. We don't know what this team is. But just to give you an idea of how hot this team is, random players are having huge impacts. So Deshaun Kersey broke an 0-for-17 hitless streak with a game-winning walk-off homer in the 10th on Mother's Day with his mother in the stands. That's a cute story. But he was 0-for-17 since then. He probably is going to be a fringe major leaguer. Might have a couple year career. He also might be in AAA 2 months from now. Cody Clemens, who I made a joke that he would be DFA'd for Royce Lewis, has stayed on the team. He has 2 home runs and 25 plate appearances when he has a career 350 slugging percentage. Christian Vasquez today hit a home run that took the lead. He hits his first home run of the year. He has a 46 OPS plus. He is an automatic out almost always. It's really fun to watch. I really hope that if they would just continue what they did, if they do like a repeat of what they did up until August last year, I'm going to be really happy. But I just don't want the reverse team of this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, other way around for that to happen. So I can't complain right now. It's been really fun to watch them.
I personally hope that the Twins have the exact same season they did last season. That would be very nice.
If the Tigers do the same thing, they're going to win like 150 games in that same team. I don't, but I'm also a little bitter at the division. We're going to look at the standings here, but the Twins went on a 10-game winning streak and have picked up all of 2 games in the standing. It's because the Tigers went on like a 5-game winning streak and they've been on fire. The Guardians did the same thing. The Royals did the same thing. It's just, I'm glad they did it because they needed to get to 500, but I would have liked to, I don't know, maybe go from 4th to 3rd in the division would have been a nice peak, but I guess we can't have everything in Minnesota, can we? I did just want to I pointed out Royce Lewis was back last week. He has not looked great. Nick Nelson skeeted the other day. Royce Lewis has, in his last 190 plate appearances, has a 242 slugging percentage. Prior to that, in his previous 190 before that, he had 18 home runs with a 675 slugging percentage. He is on a severe slump. And I think that's right around the time, if anybody remembers, he had a quote saying that he doesn't do slumps. And then he had a tremendous...
Wait, who is this?
Royce Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Who is generally really fun to watch and like is really quotable. Like when he came off of the IL, he was talking about getting the injury bug off of his back, and he said that he took as many showers as he could to get the bug off of his back. He's just kind of a cheesy guy. But yeah, I don't do cold streaks, or I don't do slumps is really kind of bit him in the butt. So that's it for the Twins.
Even as a Jew, somehow Royce Lewis gives off like youth pastor vibes.
Kinda. There was another quote he had. It was last year during a hot streak. I think he hit like 3 home runs in 4 games or something like that. And they kept giving him like random drug tests. And he was doing a post game interview, and the interviewers had to wait for him to start the interview. And he goes, "Hey, sorry guys, I was late. They were testing me. They were, for the last couple of games." And he says, like, "I don't know what they expect to find. All they're going to find in these veins is ice cream."
Yeah, that's youth pastor energy.
Yeah. So he's an incredibly positive guy, but boy, is he kind of a ham. Anyway, that's enough about the Twins for now. Oren, the White Sox are not.
Well, before I start, I want to ask about the Twins. So
Yeah.
You've seen both the Dr. Jekyll and the Mr. Hyde. I don't know which is the good one. I haven't read that book, to be honest, but I know I get the
Dr. Jekyll's the good one. Mr. Hyde's the bad one.
Yeah.
Well, of course, he didn't go to all those years of medical school to be the bad one. But so, which team do you think the last 10 games Twins, or their first 20, 30 games Twins? Which do you think is, because obviously those are two extremes of the same team. Which one do you think is closer to their true essence?
I would say, I mean, nobody's this hot. And like, I'll point out the win streak last year versus this year. Last year they beat up on, it was the White Sox, the Angels, the White Sox. Like, they paid those 4 teams back to back, and they had a 12-game winning streak. So they swept 3, basically 2 teams back to back. Like, it was bad competition. This winning streak, they swept the Giants. They won 2 out. They started it with 2 out of 3 out of Boston. They're beating up on the Royals. They even won a doubleheader today. But it hasn't been with the offense. It has been pitching driven. And I've watched a lot of Cleveland teams over the last decade score little to no runs with great pitching and continue to rattle off wins. They're probably closer to what I thought they were at the start of the season. I think they're playing like they hopefully will end up as a 90-win team, but it's really difficult to tell because, like I said, they've never been a 500 team. They've either been abhorrent or hot, and it's really hard to pick the extreme. I know that didn't answer your question, so that was a cop-out.
That was probably so closer to who they are now than who they were when they're at their worst.
Yes. I will believe in this winning streak probably more this year than last year because the pitching has been phenomenal. I think I saw a tweet the other day. It was the Twins, the first turn through the first 6 spots in the rotation. They had a 6.09 ERA, and since then they have like a 2.95 starting rotation ERA, and that tracks. Chris Paddock took a perfect game into the 5th the other day. I don't know what happened, but Chris Paddock is suddenly I'm not going to say a good pitcher, but a decent pitcher. He's held on to his job, and now the worst pitcher in the rotation is Simeon Wood Richardson, who, blowing kisses aside, is pretty good for a 5th starter. Like, he might be at risk. He had a kind of a stinker of a start today. He's probably the biggest risk to lose his spot because they do have David Festa and Zebby Matthews, and like they have guys kind of pounding at the door. So I don't know. The pitching's legit. We'll get into it when we talk about the 40-game recap, but this team is kind of who I thought they were, and I think I predicted that they were going to win 90 games, so I'm going to stick with that.
Okay.
We would have almost had to stop the presses there because Hunter Renfroe just very nearly hit his first home run of the year.
Very nearly.
Very nearly.
Well,
he continues to lead the league in balls that are almost hits.
Did the right fielder knock it out of the stands and into the center fielder's glove?
He did not. He did not. The center fielder made a play that would have been very difficult if Tal's Hill was still there.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. Also, breaking news during that, a friend of the AL Central, Michael Taylor, also hit a home run.
Hey, look at him. I like Michael
AL
A. Taylor.
Central's coming up nice.
Yeah.
All right. So for the White Sox, we are who we are. Everyone knows that by this point. They have been looking a little bit more watchable lately. I know in the beginning you said They're almost 500. To clarify, that's only in the last 10 games.
And
Their record still is 13-29. But their expected record win-loss is like 17-25. So, hey, okay. Miguel Vargas, who we got from the Dodgers in the Michael Kopech trade last year, he came over. He was kind of underperforming with the Dodgers, and he was blocked. He came over last year. He performed pretty terribly with the White Sox, started the year cold, and then made some mechanical adjustments to his swing with some help from the staff. And in his last 17 games, he's hitting 340, 4-something, 5-something. So he's looking hot now. I'll tie that back into something in a minute. Other news, Tim Elko, the Ole Miss national champion from 2022, captain of that team. He's been promoted to the major leagues. Another Mother's Day home run with his mom in attendance. He hit his first hit and his first home run was a 3-run homer which wound up being the winning home run against the Marlins. Sox fans are very excited about this guy, in part because we're very tired of Andrew Vaughn. And, it's exciting to see a fresh face. He's got good pedigree as a prospect. He had a great showing in the minor leagues. And, we were on a heater for about 3 decades with first baseman. We went from Frank Thomas to Paul Konerko to Jose Abreu. And then Andrew Vaughn was kind of the end of that nice little run there. But we're all kind of hoping that Tim Elko can provide some consistent offense, because obviously there hasn't been much of that. Otherwise, Shane Smith, starting pitcher, has been pitching very well. In fact, a few of the young starting pitchers have been pitching well. Jonathan Cannon has also been showing out in his last few starts. Davis Martin, I'm watching the game just now. He's he's shut out the Reds through 6 innings, and hope that'll probably be when he comes out. The White Sox are up 4-0. So regardless of who wins the game, it's a nice start for Davis Martin. And, all of this is to say that, some of these guys in this more watchable version of this terrible White Sox team have actually looked pretty good so far. And on top of that, there's a few guys in the minor leagues, Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, that they just rejiggered the top prospects list. And so we've got 4 top 40 prospects.
nice.
And people are, we're excited about that. And this all kind of ties back into Chris Getz's larger vision for the team. I know in the beginning of the season, but this we're finally starting to see. You asked at the beginning of the season, we asked what I thought of Chris Getz as a GM. I thought it was too early to tell because, that's the sort of position where it takes a couple years to kind of see, how your impact is made versus what you inherited. If he had inherited a good team, it would have been okay. You keep him good, but he inherited a terrible team. So it really does take a little bit of time to start to assess him. And it still might be too early to say that he's being looked upon in a more favorable light. But the feel of the temperature amongst Sox fans now is that, okay, these guys are starting to look good. It's starting to have some semblance of a plan in motion. We have these young guys look like they're playing hard, which is a nice departure from the last, core that we had, where it seemed like effort and just, wanting to be there was a big issue. So it's exciting. And if they can continue to look good, not necessarily win games, because, the bullpen is so bad that there's going to be a lot of losses that don't tell the whole story. So it's looking a little, there have been some positives this season so far, and it's very watchable. And Sox fans are surprisingly having an all right time right now. Also, it doesn't hurt that the expectations were, in below ground when the season started. But that's been nice. Also, we have Bob Nightingale, Boob, the infamous White Sox reporter, who is a perfectly normal guy in real life. I've met him a few times, but online he is the biggest boomer ever to exist.
Yeah.
He says that the White Sox plan to trade Luis Robert by Memorial Day. That would be awesome. I hope that happens. I don't really care what the return is. The keeping him a little longer until the trade deadline and hoping he heats up won't really do much to impact his trade value. It's pretty low. I personally would hope that we could spread it across 3 top 25 but not top 15 prospect, or maybe 3 top 30 but not top 20 prospects from a team. Just kind of
okay.
split the portfolio around, diversify the portfolio. So, he's also been saying this for the past few years. He's pretty unreliable about a lot of stuff, but if that happens, that would be a nice way to kind of, move on from the last unsuccessful era. Even though at times Luis Robert has been fun to watch and been fun to root for, he just hasn't been for a long time. And, no one else in the league is fooled. No one's going to give up anything that good for him. But hopefully, you never know. Also, we got the Pope. New Pope.
I was about to say, there you
not
go.
just an American and not just a Chicagoan, but he is a White Sox fan.
Despite the Cubs' best efforts to steal
Despite
him.
the Cubs trying to claim him. That was a weird debate. There was a huge debate over whether he was a Cubs or Sox fan. It's I don't know. What's, what about the more important things about him? I'm not going to say it here, but what about the questions that everyone has in the back of their mind? What type of guy is he first before I decide if I want him to be a Sox fan or not? But by all accounts, it seems like he's a good dude.
Yeah.
So
I see some
with that news.
I see some white smoke emanating from behind you to signify that you've elected a new pope. So
either that or my cat's got into the candle. But either way, it's exciting times in Chicago.
I wonder if the Cubs claiming the Pope too soon, is that a new cardinal sin or something? Because I feel like that's gotta.
It is
right?
now.
Cardinal sin.
I mean, Cubs fans were very excited to claim him for about half a day until his brother came out and cleared it up. And then Sox fans, I think some of the excitement from claiming him just came from being oh no, you thought you had him. So even if people don't care, they're kind of just caring to spite the Cubs fans. But Chicago Pope, White Sox Pope, there it is.
I want to say it's very American of us to go, oh, the new Pope is from Chicago. Let's make a million jokes about deep dish pizza. Also, is he a Cubs or a White Sox fan? Also, that means Chicago has a Pope for a quarterback to throw over 4,000 yards. That's very American of us. For that
yeah, well, I mean, what other metrics do you talk about the Pope by? How many conversions he has? I don't know.
That is actual thing. They do actually track that.
Wait,
I grew
really?
up Catholic. Yeah, there is a. There's certain to become a saint. There's certain things you have to do. You have to have X amount of miracles and blah.
Well, what are the most unbreakable Pope records?
Well, the first one was crucified upside down. I don't think that's happened in a minute. So I don't know if this was asked, but the real question is, when are the White Sox going to give away Pope hats as a giveaway?
There's a big sponsor by them. That he gets us
those ads. So annoying.
I hate those.
Everyone hates those ads, but they spend a lot of money advertising with the White Sox. So there's always behind home plate, he gets us stuff. So even though Jerry Reinsdorf, like me, is Jewish, I think his primary belief system is money. So if anyone wants to pay him enough money, we'll give out anything. We'll give out armbands if he wants. I don't think this guy has any principles.
I have no horse in this race. I was raised Catholic, but I want the Pope to throw out a first pitch. That would be amazing.
That'd be cool, actually. Yeah.
That would be actually really cool.
In his full regalia.
Do they drive out the Pope mobile also?
I
was just going to say. Yeah. They used to drive the bullpen car up to the mound way back in the day. Drive up the Pope mobile.
I do think a bobblehead of him is within the realm of possibility. It could happen at some point,
probably.
You have to find out. Did they ever do an Obama bobblehead? Because they had Obama. I mean,
it's a good question. If they might have, although they might have been a little bit too
too political.
afraid to stray into like anything political. But I feel like the Pope is a little bit less political than that. You know,
Eh,
I mean,
I
it's a
don't like-
political position, but it's not like, I guess, as political as president of the United States, like in terms of like for most Americans. I don't know.
I also like. I feel like with the president, you can joke about with. It's really hard to some to joke about the Pope. Like sacrilege might becomes a part of that, but I don't know. Like people are weird. They might love it. They might hate it. It just depends.
yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know anything about this guy, but he might be like too serious of a man. I mean, he is the Pope. You know, he didn't do it to throw first pitches. He might be thinking like, no, my duties lie with Christ and the Vatican or whatever they say.
Right.
Well, he did sign a baseball.
Yeah, he did ask a guy who
Oh,
who got an
funny.
autographed baseball if he was a Sox or Cubs fan. So he's
Oh,
at least
oh.
heard the chatter about him.
Funny.
All right. Bottom of the ninth, Torres walked, and then he stole second while the throw went wild into the outfield, and now there's a runner on third, nobody out. Bottom of the ninth, tied game.
Yeah, I probably need to walk that guy. Think you need to walk
Oh,
him.
what do you know that she doesn't?
Oh, I don't know anything yet. I think you need to walk the bit, like, because there's a guy on third, nobody out. I think.
Well,
you
was it
walk.
not Torres? Because it was Ibanez. I thought it was Torres for some reason. Yeah, they have similar stances, but
A little bit of unrelated Central news, but I guess it kind of affects the Central in the sense that MLB has put a term limit on the ban that as soon as you die, you are now considered unbanned by Major League Baseball. Kind of a small thing. It's good news for Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. So I don't know if we have any strong opinions on this or if we care at all. But what do you guys think?
I like Shoeless Joe. I think he should be in there. From what I've read, okay, I don't know much, and all I've read is what I read on Wikipedia 2 days ago. But it sounds like he wasn't really involved in the Black Sox scandal. It was more of like his teammates claimed that he did to like put legitimacy on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
My point about Shoeless Joe is we would not know who he is for any reason other than the fact that he's banned.
Yeah.
Like maybe Oren might as a White Sox fan, but the fact that like I remember Armando Galarraga.
Yep.
I do not remember the name of the guy who pitched a perfect game like 2 years ago for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the fact
Don't get
that
me started on Armando because I have opinions on that.
well, the fact that Shoeless Joe was banned is like the only reason that anyone today would
Right.
know who he is.
Yeah,
So-
and it's very unclear, and I don't think it's going to get any clearer. That team had a lot of involvement with the Chicago mob at the time.
Yeah.
He truly was illiterate in terms of reading and writing, so he has a little bit of plausible deniability. But I just think it's kind of it's a fool's errand to try to suss out actual answers from that. Sox fans will probably be biased and say, oh, he didn't do it. He didn't know what he was saying.
Right.
And, other fans probably don't really care enough to have a bias in a situation like this. It was over 100 years ago. In a vacuum, he has really good stats. He had a good story, of course, with the infamous ending for his major league career. So in a vacuum, sure, as a Sox fan, you like to see him eligible. I think he will get elected into the Hall of Fame now that he is eligible. Pete Rose, it's kind of a different story. But outside of the vacuum, when you take in the context and consider that, this is a month after they stripped Jackie Robinson's legacy from the website. It kind of feels like a hollow victory. It feels like there's something a little bit larger at play here. It doesn't feel like it's that much of a coincidence. And maybe it's just because of some, latent tension here in our country right now. But there's something that sticks in my craw about first the Jackie Robinson thing in the first place. And then even more so when you juxtapose Pete Rose especially, and I know that this rule isn't specific for him, but even in Manfred's statement, they mentioned him. So it's and then they did
He's
it
the
before,
biggest name.
They did it before Pete Rose night in Cincinnati, which is tonight when they gave away Pete Rose jerseys, and they started the game at 7:14.
Yeah,
to honor him. So it feels very calculated. It feels like, without saying too much here, it feels like some old guys looked around, felt the temperature of the room, and thought that this was a good time to do something like this, and that doesn't sit great with me. Like I said, no one wants to get too political, and we're happy to see Shoeless Joe off the list, but overall, not great news to me.
I think it will be fun just to go off of the Shoeless Shield. Who's on the Hall of Fame ballot this year? Like, who's the big name? Is it Pujols yet?
No, he's not for a few more years.
Either way, it will be kind of fun to see like a modern.
Right.
Oh yeah, he might need to wait. It will be kind of fun to see like 2 or 3 modern players and Shoeless Joe Jackson are in the same Hall of Fame class. That's kind of fun.
But my opinion is a lot more simple on this, and slightly philosophical. What is the Hall of Fame? The Hall of Fame is the baseball museum, and that is in capital letters. It is the baseball museum. The guy with the most hits and the guy with the most home runs should be in the baseball museum.
I agree.
But to be clear, though, if you go to the Hall of Fame, you could see Pete Rose stuff. They talk about how many hits he had. He's just he doesn't have a plaque. They've got his stuff there, though.
Yeah,
maybe
he's just not in that section. Yeah.
Maybe this is too woke of me. Maybe this is too woke of me, but I don't think anyone who committed statutory rape should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my big thing. I just don't think we should put anyone like that on a pedestal.
The only thing I will say, go ahead, Dan.
I wouldn't even go that far. Like, outside of baseball stuff is more reprehensible than baseball stuff. Like, that's point blank is true. Pete Rose committed the worst thing you could possibly do in sports, where he potentially affected whether or not the game was on the up and up or not.
Right.
And to me, that we can't have that. Particularly now, I think, Oren was talking about timing a minute ago. A couple years ago, Major League Baseball made the decision that they were going to get in bed with gambling companies. And there's a certain level of intrigue that creates, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that anything has happened. We had the biggest star in the game just last year, though, who was caught up in his interpreter being part of a gambling scandal. It is not a good look in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, to let any sort of leniency around gambling scandals at all. So it just doesn't sit well with me that decision was made. And ultimately, this sport has been around for, at the professional level, 150 years. It existed after Babe Ruth. It existed after Barry Bonds. It's existed after Pete Rose. No one is bigger than the sport. And I'm not suggesting that Rose be redacted from the all-time hit list or anything like that. But to Lee's point, to enshrine him for baseball reasons in this case, doesn't feel appropriate. Jackson, who, by the way, also played for the Indians way back when.
I saw that.
If the evidence, he was a good player for us at one point.
It was like 5 years too. It wasn't like just like a cup of coffee.
Yeah, like 1910 to 1915 or something like that.
Yeah.
If there's the evidence there, though, or enough plausible deniability that he wasn't involved, maybe there's an opportunity there. But we know what Pete Rose did, and it just doesn't sit well with me.
I think.
Sorry, Justin Henry Malloy just hit a walk-off single. Eat shit, Red Sox.
I think for me, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to pretend like this is something that I'm celebrating or something that I'm 100% behind. But the problem is the war against gambling has been lost.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we see some legislation to, change the way. Right now, I'm watching the Royals game, and it is on FanDuel Sports Network. I mean, unless we're going to see a major shift in the way sports gambling is advertised, the war's been lost. And I think that part of it is that MLB recognizes that the color of money is green, and sports gambling creates a lot of pieces of paper that are green for them to use. So, as much as I maybe agree with some of the things that are being said about this, it comes down to MLB sees which way the wind is blowing. They see that they've kind of lost the fight against gambling, which is a fight that was going on for a long time. And in the last, 8, when was sports gambling legalized? 2018, is that correct?
That sounds right. I don't know.
Depends on the state.
In the last 7, 8, the Supreme Court, 18, I think,
Oh, yeah.
was when they made their decision.
My bad, yeah.
The last 7 years, that fight has pretty much lost. Right here in Missouri, we voted in favor of, and it was close. It was by a hair, but we voted in favor of sports gambling this past November. So, like I said, I think it's a fight that's mostly been lost.
And that's totally fair. That doesn't mean I have to like it.
Right.
It's one of
Well,
my favorite phrases. I haven't had the opportunity to say it here, but I don't have to like it is something that I like to say.
I mean, we've also
Right.
lost the war on ad patches on sleeves. I don't like that one either.
Yeah, I don't either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the creep of all that stuff. But I'm not even advocating against gambling being in the sport, but it just the impropriety that comes along with the creep of this. Something eventually has the potential to go really badly. And that while the game survived Ruth and Bonds, etc., that could end the sport.
Yeah,
I know that sounds like alarmist, but I think it's the truth.
I think the optics of it, of in the same time, allowing more and more sports gambling to enter baseball, and also allowing gambling and guys who were banned for gambling into the Hall of Fame. I mean, look at the NBA. It does not have a good reputation in terms of officiating because of a lot of gambling stuff. I mean,
Right.
the NFL is also kind of
It
on.
does hurt when an NBA referee does get it openly admits that he was officiating games.
And with the Mavs getting the first pick, the
Yeah.
draft is okay. People saying sports are scripted. It is always like tinfoil hat stuff, but the draft, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want baseball to turn into what the NBA and the NFL has, right? Where every bad officiating call, you go, are they betting, right? That's a little bit conspiracy theory.
I look
And baseball is such a sport that the robots could take over tomorrow.
Right. Well, not if you want, it's harder to rig a baseball game because it's as soon as the ball makes contact with the bat, yes, you can kind of direct where the ball goes, but it's completely random on if that's a hit, a foul ball, a home run, or whatever it is. So it's much harder to rig unless you have the pitcher in your pocket or the umpire in your pocket.
Sorry.
And MLB just fired Pat Holberg. If you remember a couple years ago, he called a perfect game. Was it in the World Series? Is that what he was known for? He called a perfect game as an umpire. They just fired him just before this season because he had a buddy linked to his, I think it was his FanDuel, one of the gambling sites was linked, and he got fired for it. Which sucks to see as one of the better umpires, but I get it.
I agree with Dan in the sense that I think something really bad is going to happen. And look, Jonte Porter, Mizzou grad, him getting kicked out of the league for gambling last year was pretty bad, but no one knows who he is. And I will go to my grave being convinced that Shohei Ohtani knew what was going on. And something really bad is going to happen. And I think that is going to precipitate either
Sure.
some type of legislation or some type of major change in how we look at sports betting.
Maybe.
I
was
think
I
it's
think the way
going to,
things
yeah.
are,
I
the
think
way
it's
things
going
are
to-
right now, you know, it is what it is.
I was just going
I
to
think-
ask, does anyone here think that Shohei was betting on games? Like Shohei was making bets.
I don't think he knew. I don't think he was doing it. I would not be surprised if he knew about it, but I'm not like, oh, he was doing it and his interpreter just. And I don't think that.
I think he
wouldn't be
knew what
surprised if
was
he knew
going.
about it.
I think he knew what was going on because that interpreter was $25 million in debt.
Yeah.
And there is no illegal bookie who would just extend $25 million of credit to that dude if he did not have some type of guarantee
Right.
that he would be bailed out. Because some people were like, oh, well, maybe they just assumed that, blah. It's like those type of people do not operate on assumptions.
Right.
Those type
didn't
of people do not take your word for it. There had to be an absolute guarantee that Shohei was going to bail this dude out, and Shohei would have had to show his face to those people and agree to that.
Didn't he? Now again, I don't know. And like, I'm trying to remember this from reports, and it might even be wrong what I'm remembering. But didn't the interpreter forge Otani's name on several documents, and like he
I think I
even
heard
like
something about that,
impersonated like, and
He
like
was calling the bank and telling him that he was Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei
I know
Ohtani,
that
and
for
they
a
have
fact.
that on record.
Yeah.
I believe all that, but I am 100% convinced that these bookies that Ipe Mitsuhara was using had to, at some point, ask Shohei to show his face to them.
I don't know. I mean,
We're getting way
but
off topic.
that's
here.
assuming you have any leverage on Shohei, because like,
This-
why?
well,
If you're
that's
Shohei,
just
why
me.
do you care?
This could be
mean,
your Woodward and Bernstein moment. You could go like undercover and like new job, make a splash
find
with
it.
this like the hugest
Hey.
story you plan.
You know what? I'll tell you what. For his perspective, I would rather be in prison than out on the street owing a bookie $25 million.
probably
Yeah.
not wrong.
I would
would
rather
much
have his
rather-
job in the first place. He already made a ton of money and he was like got to just
What
hang
was
out
it,
with
too?
Shohei all the time.
And like, I saw there was like a deep dive on the. He was like betting on college volleyball. Like it was so, and like multiple. He was
Hey,
going.
have you watched
I
college
think-
volleyball?
No,
I saw a stat at one point that he had like a minus like I can't remember what it was, but it was like minus 50% return
Yeah.
on investment on his bets. And if you just randomly bet point spreads, you would have like a -4 return on investment. So
It's like Michael
clearly-
Jordan, terrible at betting too.
no.
yeah, clearly Ipe was shite at sports betting.
How long have you been holding in that one?
I have been holding ever since I heard that dude's name. That is the first thing I thought to myself.
I was
like,
gonna say it's impressive that you
Ipe
knew his
is
last
shite.
name.
Ipe
anyone else?
Mitsuhara.
Could anyone else have said his last name like gun to your head, like say Ipe's last name and pronounce it the correct way? I would have had no idea.
Zero shot.
I wouldn't have gotten it. But
Hey,
just
we
to
got
bring it.
way off topic.
Yeah. Hi again. Smash to hard edit because there's really no easy transition to get into the next episode. So this was the best I had. So thank you guys for listening. We're going to continue on with the conversation in the next episode. And we're going to talk about how the teams are through the first 40 games, even though we did cover a fair amount of that in the first episode. But we get in a little bit more detail. Thank you guys for listening and watching.